My name's Kevin Holmes and I'm here to talk about a common call we get to our technical line concerning the replacement of the clutch in VN, VR and VS Commodores. A good principle to keep in mind in any clutch replacement is if the clutch is worn and needs to be replaced, chances are the actuation system is also worn and probably needs to be looked at and verified as being to specification. The Commodore VN, VR and VS models are a very good example of this. It's a very common call, and the call typically goes, I've replaced the clutch in this Commodore and now I have a rattle. The good news is that this is virtually never an issue with the clutch kit. It is virtually always the result of unwanted metal on metal contact between worn parts of the actuation system. Now then, there's three things you need to look at in this particular model. The first is that on the clutch fork you'll find a location for two rubber pads which are located on the inside of the fork. They're there to dampen or to prevent contact between the metal fork and the bearing. Problem is that over the years, and rubber being rubber, it will wear at a different rate to metal. It can break down and fall out. It can actually be knocked out when the original clutch is being removed. But if they're not there, you'll have metal on metal contact between the fork and the bearing, and this will present as a rattle in the cabin of the vehicle. So you need to secure new rubber pads and you need to put them in place, or you need to rig up something that will do the same job. The second thing to look out for is the shaft that the bearing sits on can also wear, and if there's too much free play between the bearing and the shaft, the bearing will rattle on that shaft and again present as a noise in the cabin. Okay, the final thing to look for is the clutch fork can actually make contact with the bell housing and that will present as a rattle. The issue is that with lots of free play in different elements of the actuation system, it can change the location of the fork relative to the bell housing and it will knock on the bell housing. You can tell that's happening because you'll find witness marks on the bell housing where it's making contact. If you find those witness marks, what you need to do is you need to look at the actuation system and make the adjustments you need to make sure that there's clearance between the fork and the bell housing. So there you have it, the three things that you need to check in VN, VR and VS Commodores. If you make sure the actuation system is to specification, you'll have no rattle, you'll have a good installation and you'll have a satisfied customer. If you need any help, by all means give us a call on 1300 369 787.